and a very warm welcome to this special program on NewsMobile. I am Saurav Sanyal, and joining me today are three very distinguished guests who would take us through their personal journeys and what they look forward to in life when it comes to the core spirit of entrepreneurship that, in a way, has kept them alive. Today, as we celebrate International Women Entrepreneurs Day, it's but obvious that we decide to look inwards, to look at the stories which, in a way, have become inspiration for hundreds and thousands across the country and sure will reach many more through this broadcast. A very warm welcome to Geeta Kapoor, Pratyusha Pareddy, and Swaroop Dev. It's an absolute pleasure having all of you on the show with me. Just for our viewers who are joining in, Geeta Kapoor can be best described as a serial entrepreneur. She's a director at KKEPL and also greatly involved in jewelry. She'll take you through that journey in just 2 minutes from now. Also with me is Pratyusha Pareddy, who's the co-founder at Nemo Care. And Pratyusha will also be sharing how she began. She thought of choosing this particular line and, what are the obstacles that possibly that she's had to face in her journey and how determined she was in and successful by overcoming all these obstacles that came her way. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. Also with me is Swaroop Dev, who's director of Girgit Studios. And you must be wondering, in a discussion on women entrepreneurship, what is Swaroop really doing here? Well, Swaroop has directed this beautiful film called Pehel, which celebrates the journey of women, which celebrates women entrepreneurship and the essence of women entrepreneurship. Pehel would be showcased as a part of a project, Her and Now, which is also being partly funded and in a way taken forward by the German Federal Ministry. Thank you, Swaroop, for joining us on this discussion as well. Let me get started with you, Geeta ji. Just take us through. Our viewers must be wondering, when I described you as a serial entrepreneur, what exactly has been your journey like?
Thank you, Saurav. Thank you, Saurav, for having me here. And hi, Swaroop. And hi, Pratyusha. Basically, I would always say that serendipity is my middle name. Fortunate accidents. Also, I was designed to be in design. So anything that's creative attracts me. How it gets converted into business, very automatic. It would be very different listening from me to say that were there obstacles, etc. One, when you're flowing like a river, the obstacles you never feel them. You just go around them, you go over them, and then that's how it is. So my first business was in landscaping. I design gardens. It goes with architecture, landscaping, interiors, construction, now infrastructure. That took me to designing at a very micro level of diamond jewelry and export, and a few other businesses in between. All of them are running, the three verticals that are running, and that's how it is. Am I a qualified designer? No, I'm qualified as a child psychologist. So if that is not an inspiration to people, what could be? And have we excelled in the design fields? Yes, I think we won every award that could matter in the fields that we are, nationally and internationally. So, agar udna hai, the sky is the limit.
Fantastic. What lovely way of putting it across. And a child psychologist venturing and meandering into so many diverse fields. It's really something that not many people would venture into paths like that. Would you agree, Pratyusha? Just take us through your journey as well. How did it all begin? Because generally, after education, the general ask for parents is that, we want to see our children well settled in life. And, children are urged to take up blue collar jobs and, pursue foreign degrees. And then, but the very idea of starting something of your own comes in with a lot of ifs and buts. What was your journey like, Pratyusha?
So thank you, Saurabh, for having us here. Thank you, Saurabh, for getting us all together. So On the contrary, I was trained as a designer. I'm a trained product designer, and very simply put, engineering product design is something that you do to kind of end up in a corporate job, which is making the next big TV or the fridge, or it's basically a corporate game that you get into. And I was a part of that. I finished my education and then I joined a corporate job, only to realize that what was taught to me in design school, where you know uh, some of the uh, some of the professors we worked with was so precious, and the lessons they taught us were so precious, and the things we got to see were so inspiring for us in the during the study of design, that eventually whatever you're doing, whatever you're studying, or whatever, and especially with respect to design, impact is a big part of it. Creating impact in people's lives is something that was taught to us. But when we ended up in corporate, it was just on the opposite, edge of the spectrum, and something that we couldn't really see how we could actually impact people's lives in a positive way. That's when I realized if I really had to realize that dream, I had to take things up on my own. And luckily for me, coming from a family of doctors, I've always been in healthcare. I literally grew up in a hospital. That's what I keep joking about. My mom, being a gynecologist, I literally grew up in the labor ward. And so that came naturally to me. And then when I see them actually touching people's lives in a positive way, I realized that adding the strength of design education and engineering to something like that would actually see the impact on a multi-fold level. So that was my inspiration to actually start off. But when that seed sort of is incepted in your brain, you can hardly sleep. So every single day it was about, how do I go about it, how do I go about it? That was the one thing that kept me awake. But the problem is, where to start is the first big hurdle, which you have to cross, especially for young entrepreneurs. But like we are taught in design education, it's all about constraints. If there are no constraints, there's no good final product. So we learn to embrace constraints. So uh, as you start exploring opportunities, doors will start opening up for you. So that's how, when I had this idea in my head, I started exploring opportunities I had, and luckily I came across a very good fellowship program at IIT Hyderabad, which in fact actually gave the seed money and the basic platform for healthcare entrepreneurs to start off somewhere. And then it just was like, once the ball is set in motion, it's just about going with the flow. So then once I was in the fellowship, it helped me understand the healthcare spectrum properly and find the actual need that we wanted to solve, which ended up being in neonatal care, where we designed a product for actually saving babies' lives at the right time by identifying the distress conditions that they're going through. And then the other edge came in when we wrote to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and we got our first grant from them. And that sort of led us on a path of actually creating social impact by building this
Fantastic.
product that can be available for the low end, or the bottom part of the pyramid, where they can't really afford great healthcare. So that's how it started. We are it's a long journey. We are just at the beginning of it, but it's one step at a time, and we are taking it like that.
Fantastic. I must say that, what you just shared, both of you, in a way, will set a lot of others who are watching the broadcast now thinking, as you said, Pratyusha, that possibly that first step, how do you take that first step? That possibly is the first hurdle that you, or a mind block, as it were, that, can I or can I not? Should I or should I not? I think that is something that keeps a lot of women and entrepreneurs, in a way, pulls them back before they take the plunge. Uh, I'll broad base the discussion slightly and bring in Swaroop. Now, Swaroop, Pehel is a short film. It's about 11 minutes that you have directed. Just take us through, in the film, there are three characters, essentially, three women that you have depicted in the film, who come from very diverse backgrounds. And you have depicted in a way their spirit, what kept them going, how they started. And one thing that really caught my eye was this lady who essentially comes in from a very from a rural India setting per se. And her husband used to work as a tour guide, and then she was making food, she was serving the guests. It spread like wildfire on social media, and then she ended up opening up one dhaba after the other. Now, as we believe that all these stories that you have showcased are essentially modeled on real people and real life situations. Swaroop, first and foremost, I would want to ask you that what set you thinking to make a film like Pehel? Why did you think that entrepreneurship and women need to be celebrated and their stories need to be told?
So thanks, Gaurav, Saurav, for having me here. Hi, Geetaji and Pratyusha. Thanks to both of you for joining us. And to begin with, yeah, entrepreneurship is close to my heart as well, because yes, I am an entrepreneur myself and used to interact with a lot of entrepreneurs around during various forums and things. But definitely, we always saw that women in entrepreneurship were much skewed in numbers when compared to men in this field. And it was during last year November when we came across this requirement from GIZ that they were looking for some filmmakers who could make a film for women entrepreneurs to encourage them and address their issues. And we at Girgit Studios are always though we are into advertisement for animations, for advertising and promotional films and all, but whenever it comes to films on social themes, we go weak on our knees. And luckily we had a little backing of having a certain understanding of films on gender bias and child sexual abuse in the past. So we kind of lapped up this opportunity. We applied for that. We won the order for making this film, and that was, I think, the beginning of this journey of exploring what women entrepreneurship is about. And we knew that we are a team of three male film directors, like all three of us. Anuj, Avinash, and myself are male, and we luckily got the project. And we thought that we don't want to end up mansplaining things, and we need to get to understand what this topic is before we get into making the film. And that's when we started bringing up all our friends, called up Pratyusha, called up Reshma from my engineering college, and all of them generously extended their time and their experience and their network. And we spoke to almost, I think, 25 women entrepreneurs. Some from VHub in Hyderabad. They have a cohort of women entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs from tier 2 towns, very small towns, doing various kinds of businesses. And we were exploring certain questions that we had in mind, that you would see women maybe doing business, food related business, or businesses where you would imagine a woman to do good. So is that just happening by chance, or is it by design, or is it where they are trusted and other spaces are less explored? So consciously we found a lot of women even in Hyderabad, coming from tier 2 towns, working in very diverse field. Like someone has a oil like a natural oil kind of grind. So someone somewhere into technical field as well. So we did find some women in different fields, but then we thought that an answer that maybe I gave to myself was that why not? When we are looking as a country, if we are looking at men may be having a certain sensitivity to a certain kind of businesses. Women would have sensitivity to a different range of things altogether, which maybe men are totally blind-eyed towards. And that is why women need to come out as entrepreneurs, because only then our country, or this world will get a completeness in terms of the various ventures that would get to have a better life. So yeah, when we were making the film and deciding the story, we wanted to cover the spectrum of India. And at Girgit, we never restrict ourselves to any particular style of animation, or 2D or 3D or anything. We start with an open slate, and then we let things influence us. So when we were talking to people, we spoke to women entrepreneurs from Rajasthan, from Guwahati or Assam. So we thought that why not have all these flavors of India and try and see what kind of pan-India experience we can give to our audiences. So none of them should be left out saying that, oh, maybe in their culture it works and these
Right.
problems that I'm facing are very personal to me. And some lines from Geeta ji during her the interaction with her really influenced us, that she was, like she said, that once you are set in motion, it's all about if there is an obstacle, you go around it and over it, and then you won't see it as an obstacle. It's just you flow.
Absolutely. Sort of just hold your
So,
thought.
yeah.
One question that you said, you talked about bringing in flavors of India, colors of India from different parts of India. You talked about tier one, tier two towns. Geeta ji, I would like to take this question to you. When we're talking of tier one, tier two, tier three cities, when we're talking of an urban India versus a rural India, uh, going by your experience, do you feel that women entrepreneurs face maybe a different set of challenges as compared to men, and also depending on the place that they come from, that the culture that they come from, uh, which makes their success story uh, even more worthy of being told and shared with the others?
Um, Sort of, I would say yes, it is. It may not hold true for me, but when I talk to other women, I think what you're saying is absolutely true. It has got nothing to do with tier one, tier two, or tier three towns. It could be the same in the cities, it could be same in the rural areas. What I'm going to say is something very different, and that is how I always tell the women, the objections, the challenges are all in our minds. It's here. And that is where we need to overcome it in our minds and our hearts. Once that is done, look at the protagonist from Rajasthan in your film, Swaroop. How easily, how, very gently she overcomes it. But yes, so, sort of what you're saying, that's true. It is there culturally, it is there. Uh, I also kind of have this question thrown to men and to the society as large, that if women were taking two skills which are natural to them, like cooking, then why are not the best chefs in the world women? Why are not the best tailors, the bespoke tailors women? That is not true. I think the hurdles are more that we create in our mind. What will I do? What will the society say? What will my family say? And sometimes we don't vocalize. When we vocalize and we follow that dream, very often एक हाथ से दूसरा हाथ जुड़ जाता है. And as Pratyusha said, the windows and the doors open up, and that's how you just flow out.
I think that's a very important point that you touched upon, where you said that, you're essentially talking of how we, in a way, end up compartmentalizing and stereotyping.
Yes.
And, we try to, one size fits all kind of that thing that we have in our mind, that possibly is the biggest impediment. Pratyusha, would you agree that that's the biggest impediment that women possibly face when it comes to taking that plunge, as you so nicely explained? I would also want to ask you that, going by your experience, looking at, stories, that you have come across, what is it, that one thing that you would say that it takes to become a successful women entrepreneur?
Okay, that's a very tough way to put it. One thing. So what I realize is, yes, like Geeta ma'am was just saying, a lot of the things that we face are really inside our head. And only when you start or set about doing it is when you realize that this was just something that I was holding back inside me. And when it comes to a lot of the women, especially, I'm talking from a very South Indian sensibility here, is that a lot of the tier two, tier three women I interact with, um, what I realize is the men who are a little more educated often just directly look for jobs, whereas women who don't think anybody offers them a job intrinsically have that thing to do something on their own. So, uh, in such cases, most of the thing that just really stops them is the fact that what will my neighbor say? What will my, somebody, some dada, some mama, what's somebody like that going to say? And I see that all the way up to very educated families. So in educated families, the other end of the spectrum is that, why do you want to go and suffer so much? Why do you want to, fall at some venture capitalist's feet and, ask for money? And, why do you want to do all that sort of a thing, which they think is like risky sort of thing, and something sometimes maybe not safe. And But then one thing I totally believed in, what I saw overall, and what I also think is an important thing for a woman to be a successful entrepreneur is, try first thing is to believe in yourself that you will be able to do it. And the minute you do it, and the minute you have these smaller successes where you're able to achieve those small goals that you set for yourself, people around you are seeing and then starting to believe in you. And
Fantastic. To
that,
believe in yourself.
yes,
I think
that's
I
the
think
first step.
that is a message that should go out loud and clear to everyone, that believe in yourself. But before I come to
Absolutely.
Swaroop, just one quick question to you, Geetaji, that success doesn't come in a day. There's a lot of hard work. There is this, this grit, this determination to be able, and believing in yourself, as Pratyusha just said, and then realizing your dream. Now, many a times what happens is, because of the obstacles that come in someone's path, because of rejections that one faces, here she talked about, why would you go and fall at some venture capitalist's feet? The common question come to the fore. Uh, do these also act as big impediments? Because success and failure also go in a way hand in hand. It's like a sound wave, like a crest and trough kind of a model.
You're absolutely right, Saurav. But if you're on an entrepreneurial path, a failure is a teaching lesson. It's a lesson. It's not a failure. You will fail, you will fall, and you will just carry on, because you only see the goal where you want to be. And then all this doesn't matter. If not this, then something else. If not this, then something else. When we talk about, that single-minded, how do you say that this is what I want to do, whether it's a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. I have this very simple analogy when I talk to women, and I think it's going to bring a smile to all of your faces. If it's a girl of 50 kg and if it's a boy of 50 kg, both of them weigh the equal amount, and you put them in a wrestling akhada, most likely the woman will win. She has a better grit and determination to get there. She has the better power. She's, she's, how do you say, she's connected to the universe because she's going to bring a child into the world. A woman is a stronger person. Somewhere along the line, she forgets that. And if she's reminded that, I think the rural women, Pratyusha will agree to me, are teaching us much more stories of success, and possibly after education, that we women, we get more easily conditioned into believing that we can't do this. So success and failure go hand in hand like a wave, sound wave, as you say, but uske baad nagada to bajana hi hai.
Bilkul, and for a second when you started talking about weight, I suddenly got very conscious on the weight. But Swaroop, again, falling back on that particular weight analogy that Geetaji just, that example, beautiful example that she used. Pehel might be telling a story in very simple terms. It's a story of three women who sit across the table, who are discussing and sharing what they have gone through. You have depicted women from diverse ethnic backgrounds. You've depicted women from different religious backgrounds, different sensibilities, different culture. What is that one message that you think? Because it's quite a weighty film that way. What is that one message that is going out to viewers who are men, and secondly to viewers who are women? Will they see the film differently, or will they look at it with the same prism?
Saurabh, during my interaction with Pratyusha before we were making the film, she said very interestingly that she had recently won that Women Entrepreneurship Award, and she was saying that I find it funny that someone gives me a Woman Entrepreneurship Award, because at the end of the day I'm an entrepreneur. How does it matter whether it's a woman or a man or whatever it is? So an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur. And also I was talking to some other women entrepreneur friends of mine, like Suruchi Wag was one of my friend, and she was saying that Swaroop, even men entrepreneurs face a lot of problems, just that the set of problems are different. So instead of sitting and cribbing about my problems, I would rather find solutions for them. Coming to Pehel, I would say Pehel as a film is as importantly as for the people around women who want to become entrepreneurs rather than the women, because the women who are determined to become entrepreneurs, they will find a way and they will become entrepreneurs eventually. But it is mainly, or rather more importantly, for the support system around them, the brothers, the fathers, the mother-in-laws, who need to understand that we are going to be the nurturing soil, so where this bloom is going to happen, and the more conditioned this soil is, the better the flower will be. So let's make the lives of these women entrepreneurs easier, so that they can and give better solutions to the society, rather than making their lives difficult and
No, very
distracting
well
them
said
with
that, that the family, in a way,
unimportant
that the
things.
ecosystem surrounding women, that's like, becomes like the nursery. So if a flower has to blossom, it has to be, the soil has to be prepared, the bed has to be prepared, it has to be watered well, it has to be looked after well, and only then, the flower doesn't happen in a day. Pratyusha, before we wrap up this discussion, one quick question to you. We talked about, your respective journeys. We talked about the difficulties. We talked about success. We talked about failure. We talked about the ecosystem surrounding women. But one thing that is like the buzzword now, where the government is, has coined the term of ATMANIRBHAR Bharat, where a lot of stress is going into making, people independent, like India independent in a way. What role do you envisage for women, particularly, and women entrepreneurs who are often bogged down by circumstances surrounding them? There's pressure of child rearing, there is pressure from the in-laws, their grumpy faces, like, Swaroop has also shown in his film, that this Rajasthani lady, and she says, that the husband stopped talking, the mother-in-law looked the other way in a way. So, there are a lot of these unseen challenges that women, that try and pull women down. Do you see that as a deterrent when it comes to realizing the Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat?
Definitely, Saurabh. I can't emphasize enough the support that is required from the family when you are talking about a woman entrepreneur. When you're talking about any entrepreneur for that matter, a lot of the times men don't venture into entrepreneurship because they feel the family pressure. How am I going to pay my child's school fee next? And in a lot of ways, women actually sometimes, because they don't, the families don't want to put that pressure, actually can venture into entrepreneurship because they don't have to take that pressure of earning money sometimes. So that actually becomes the boon. The bane actually becomes the boon when you want to venture into entrepreneurship. But that being said, I think personally, for me in my journey, I had a lot of the times I had to travel, and had to seek support with my family, my mother-in-law, my mother, to take care of my family when in my absence and all. So this sort of ecosystem is very essential. I can't emphasize enough. And unless we nurture that entrepreneurship, the Atmanirbhar dream is going to be a far-fetched dream. So unless we nurture the entrepreneurship, we are not going to be able to create enough jobs. We are not going to make that necessary change required in the manufacturing sector, for which our country is currently dependent on all our neighbors.
Right.
So unless that happens, we are not on the right path. So it starts with every home. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it starts right from, like, as they
I
say,
think make the men Atmanirbhar first. They need to themselves, cleaning for themselves, and stop depending on their female counterparts. So automatically,
yes, Geeta ji. A quick word. Yes, Geeta ji.
Very, very quick one. See, you would observe that up till now, our education system is geared to getting a job and working.
Absolutely.
We have to very quickly shift that we need to earn, whether we earn by taking a job or we earn by becoming an entrepreneur. It should be an equal footing. So the technical skills have to be put in right from the primary level, that whether it's carpentry, any skill, working with your hands, working with your minds and creating. You have small children who are doing coding these days.
Yes,
so that shift has to happen from job creation to entrepreneur creators.
I must say that it's been an extremely, involved discussion. And we're completely running out of time. Yes, Pratyusha,
I know.
some
I had a
20
small,
seconds.
small point to add to what Geeta ma'am just said, and that shift can only happen when you see positive examples. Till now we've been sold the dream of, you're going to get a high-paying job, you're going to get a car on
Yes.
your own, you're going to get a bungalow of your own or whatever. But when you shift their examples and shine the light on the right examples of people becoming successful, whether you have a job or you're an entrepreneur,
Yes.
that's when the mind shift happens. And I think that's important that the government also takes that initiative to start showing these examples and making that a part of our life.
Absolutely. And that is exactly what kind of drove us at NewsMobile to have all of you with us, so that your stories are real life stories. These are not doctored stories. These are not tutored tales. You have shared what you have gone through. You have talked about the ups and downs and challenges that one faces, especially women, when it comes to realizing their dream of becoming Atmanirbhar. But we must remember, as we all agree, that Atmanirbhar Bharat can only happen when each and every individual, each and every citizen of the country actually becomes self-reliant and self-dependent in a way, and is able to steer forward whatever the dream may be. Thank you so much, Geeta ji. Thank you so much, Pratyusha and Swaroop, for sparing time. And I wish all of you all the very best. And we really look forward to watching Pehel Swaroop, which is will be available online very soon as well, which showcases the spirit of entrepreneurship and women. Thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast.